while I was in high school and I was in bands and stuff, and then when I was doing the trades, I started doing my own thing in music. I actually went and I recorded a song, and then I started to think about like, okay, how can I market this to make myself bigger? The company that I was recording through, there was a vast network of musicians from various genres across all of the country. And so I thought to myself, well, I'll go play shows with these guys at different things. YouTube was getting big where people were, it wasn't like today where there's tons of social media influencers, but that was kind of a thing where
it was starting.
And so I created a YouTube channel where I really didn't focus it on me. I focused it on the band or artist I was playing with.
Okay.
And I built this whole video episode featuring them. That way, when their fans went home and then wanted to look up the artist, they would a lot of the times they'd end up on my channel and subscribe to my channel. And so I was building my brand and my name by advertising these other artists and stuff. And so that teaches you that, like, don't go into it just trying to blur, word vomit you over everybody. Yeah. Be giving, collaborate, and like
give before you get.
And you have gained so many more followers by promoting somebody else, because then they're going to want to know, well, why are you doing what you do?
Yeah.
And so I would do that. And then I got to a point where I had a single and a lot of these other bands had a single, and I'm needing a way to pay for my production. I'm like, well, I'll put out a CD, a sampler, like a compilation. You have these WOW and all these different, infomercial, best of the 90s or whatever.
Right.
Sampler compilation disc. I'm going to make
kind of like an indie artist sampler disc.
Yeah. And so my idea is my song in Nebraska, and I know these artists that are in Atlanta, Georgia, and Ohio, and Florida, and Seattle, and California. They'll all contribute a song. They'll all pay me, $200 or something, and I will, in return, put the artwork, actually use the money to manufacture all the discs, the CDs, because it was still CDs.
You did have a little small conversation.
Little
you guys
did I
a little too entrepreneurial.
Record labels and music companies, when they are kind of like in charge of like recording it and processing it. When it gets into distribution, they actually be the ones that like to do it.
Yeah, maybe.
And so because of that, they were like, hey, we need to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
But they weren't like mad. They were like, man, that's a good idea.
Come do it for us.
So it was like, hey, sorry to bust your bubble. You can't do this. But we really like where you were going with it. Good idea. And so that led me into actually kind of, I don't want to say I was an A&R guy, but like anything like dealing with the artist, so the record label didn't have to, whether it was setting up and scheduling their studio times to, and the way this worked, it wasn't just like the typical standard, big label where, okay, here's $20,000, go make a CD and bring it back to us. This was all independent. And so what what they did was, maybe it was a $20,000 deal. The band had a monthly payment, so it made it manageable. And if there's 5 guys in a band, dude, you got to contribute like $50, to pay off your CD. And though it sounds, for most people, that wouldn't be that big a deal. Some of these bands didn't have jobs, and so they weren't making a move. They were wanting to be, motley crew and these people they see on TV while not putting any effort into their craft. And that's the people I had to deal with. But I mean, some of them were great and they were very professional and did a good job, but that was a small spectrum of what I was talking about.
Right.
But so I took on a position where I would work with them to grow their social media, to make sure they were paying their studio time, because you had to pay in the contract. You didn't go to the studio right away. You had to get into month 1, 2, and 3, get some money coming in. Then we'll go record 6 songs or whatever, and then space it out and get those, work on. While that's doing, we're working on the artwork and we're working on projects and getting your social media up and going, and what are you doing good, what are you not doing good. Basically my job was to make them feel like they were doing something productive while the record company was bringing in enough money to actually send it to the studio. Because you couldn't be like, well, you're only going to go to the studio after you pay X amount, because then they would be all bummed about it. But
Right.
so we had, we had a process to get
Right.
them to
Into
work
the
through it.
studio and work through it.
And they were actually good at developing artists, because some of them had that worked with inside the label had success in building bands, and they were good at it. But so then I did that for a while, and I kept doing my YouTube channel and promoting, and then for me, that kind of, as you had your little brief moment in the entertainment industry, you said you had that smoldering in the back. Well, doing this YouTube channel, I was, I started out just doing it on my own and not knowing anything about anything. But now I find myself getting editing software and figuring out how to, make the sound quality good with the video quality, and learn and teaching myself that this sounded like crap, but if I get a better mic, and now it sounds really good, and finding out that well, maybe this is what happened, but I can cut and paste and edit this and kind of tell my own story of the event of the night. That really excited me and got my ears perking, so to speak. Ooh. So that's kind of the smolder for me. In the background, I've always really liked the idea of taking something and turning it into something different. Hey, Rylie here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Make a Move podcast. For more content, check us out on all major social media platforms and makeamovepodcast.com. Until next time, get off your butt.